Right, let's talk about how we are normalizing inflammation and how society is actually lying to us, telling us that we are neurodivergent. I can't stand this bloody thing. I mean, we are not neurodivergent. I mean, of course, each one of us is special. Each one of us has its own, good things and bad things and so on. But that does not mean that we are neurodivergent. It just means that we are neuroinflamed, and the fact that we are normalizing things, I mean, like fatigue, bad cognition, bad memory, things like OCDs, all this stuff, they are not diagnoses, they are not diseases, they are inflammation. you know I mean, same thing as we are normalizing, or even sometimes saying things like, autism kids are very special. I'm not denying they are special, but they are intoxicated, they are inflamed, you know, and it's reversible. So it breaks my heart to see all this normalization of these things. Well, I mean, in my case and many others, and many other people that had Lyme disease, or what they call Lyme disease, the biggest issue was that, they started with things like IBS, anxiety, and all this crap. But they were not relating all this to what actually happened later on. And things like got really bad, like slowly in a process, maybe a decade process, maybe it took a really long time to get there, but always starts in the gut. And then from the gut situation it gets worse to things like anxiety, to things like, the most evil part of the medical industry is actually psychiatry. That's the biggest fucking lie I ever seen in my life. Because all this, I mean, since one, the brain is not disconnected from the rest of the body. It's just not. And torturing someone in that sense is not going to work. Same as giving them pills to fix it is not going to work. All these things are inflammation, toxicity, gut issues. And remember, again, the gut is our first brain, not, the other way around. So yeah, but yeah, I can see how they are normalizing this, and people normalize saying like, oh, it's so cool, I have ADHD or whatever thing. No, you're not. You have inflammation. And if you don't deal with it, if you don't start, putting all your terrain in a better place, removing, whatever happens, changing your diet, changing your lifestyle, it's going to get worse. And then you get surprised if you have like an autoimmune disease later on, or, just plainly whatever it is, no? So, yeah, it's incredibly important that we stop normalizing this. Chronic fatigue is the same thing. Once again, people start being weird and tired, and then we think it's the age. Is not age. We're fucked. And I'm not surprised. Is a lot of things going on at the same time, and especially for women and hormones and endocrine disrupting things that are absolutely everywhere. We have to stop normalizing it. It's just, and I'm not saying stop accepting it. That's very different. When someone's, for instance, suffering from, let's say, a panic attack, or, whatever it is, it's very important that we are informed, so people can kind of relate to the person and help them out and so on. Same as, the a symptom that it's not very well talked, which is depersonalization, derealization. It's a very common symptom with Lyme, what they call Lyme and mast cell activation syndrome, and it's hellish. It's absolutely hell on earth. It's the sense that you are, a, you're in a dream basically. Everything you see feels like a dream, and you are not part of it. And then depersonalization is basically where you cannot recognize yourself as being yourself. It is such a horrible, horrible experience that, if anyone is living this right now, just please do not freak out. Is, not the best thing that you can possibly live, but, it will pass. But it won't pass unless you do something about it. And that's the thing. They're going to tell you this is like um, a survival thing. It's not. It's actually your body telling you you are incredibly toxic, and your mast cells flaring in the brain, making these symptoms happen. That's what it is. Nothing else, nothing more. So sometimes some people can kind of calm it down, relaxing and all this, if it's kind of light. But most of the time, you're going to have to detox your liver, to detox from parasites, mold, all this, to stop these symptoms from happening. So you're basically toxic, toxic as hell, and you are reacting to it. So, yeah, again, I just want to make very clear that these words are not helping. These kind of words like I am neurodivergent. You're not neurodivergent. You are basically fucked up. Your brain is inflamed, and we can't normalize such thing. Same as we cannot normalize things like autism in kids. It's just not normal. In 10 years, we might be 80% autistic for everyone. What the hell? And when I see and read things like, romanticizing all this kind of stuff, they are not romantic. They are not special, let's say. Everyone is, again, everyone's special in their own ways, and that's great. But the fact that you are intoxicated and inflamed is not. So that's very, 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 very important. So they are lying to us in this sense, so much so that we're getting to this point where, um, yeah, again, I'm not talking about the lack of empathy. That's incredibly important, and since we are all inflamed, some more than others, we have to practice this empathy and help people out when they are living these things. That's a totally different thing. But normalizing that as a lifestyle, as a way of living, is just not right. It's not. No, I mean, what we have to learn is how to detox ourselves and how to help a person go through all these detoxes until they are back to normal. You know, that's the key. But the problem is, let's say, parents with kids with autism or Lyme or bartonellas and so on. The trouble is, people do not want to deal with it because it's so horrible when you have to actually detox or deal with all these neuroinfections that people just want to run away from you. I mean, I no wonder it's horrible. But that's what we have to learn to actually face these things. People are so bloody afraid of darkness, and you know what, without darkness there is and there will never be light, or we will never appreciate the light side of things. So it's very common with all these diseases that people just basically disappears. And uh, that's the thing. I mean, that's when we need the help the most, and that's when you have to recognize the person that you know as you knew it, not what you see, because many times that behavior, that person that's showing you a certain way of being is not being himself or herself. It's just basically being possessed by all these parasites, toxins, inflammation that are causing them to be in that state. So yeah, it's gonna be really important for that person that you show up, that you are there, that you are constantly in helping out and giving a hand to this person. Another thing with, let's say, chronic illness is the physical part. The physical part is really badly understood as well, because it's just really tough for humans, and that's the part where you are almost healed. It's very hard for them to understand, friends, family, loved ones, that one day you can move and shout and so on, and the next you're going to be in bed for 3 days. The other one is like brain overwhelming, that happens. But take in mind that it's good to know all these things, but it's good to know these things not to normalize them, but to actually help people go through them and heal. And same for you if it's your case, right? So yeah, if you ever see or you have a partner or friend going through all these things, do not normalize them. Find out what's wrong with them, especially with kids. Please, um, you know, they cannot know it unless you do something about it. Um, and yeah, it takes work to detox a human body. Is not easy. To go through all these reactions is not easy, but the reward is someone healthy again, someone with a clear brain, someone that can live, someone that is in a good condition, which is where we have to be. So yeah, so I just wanted to talk about the hellish industry behind all this, how people are addicted to corticoids, to especially all sorts of antidepressive things, anti-anxiety pills and all this stuff. It's evil. It's beyond evil. And the worst part of all these things is that, when something is happening in your body, you still have a right to choose. But when you have neuroinflammation, or you can't remember fuck all, you have Alzheimer or anything like that, you're fucked. Unless the people around you are informed and they start detoxing you and treating it properly. So this is a really, really dangerous and dark area which no one wants to talk about. And that's why I'm here. I wanted to talk about it and make very clear that that all these diseases do not exist. There are different chemicals and different toxins affecting your brain and inflammation, and that's what it is. So basically, you can't reverse all this properly with the right support and knowledge. But the knowledge in this case has to come from everyone around you, from your friends, from your family, from no one giving up on you. And then who knows, maybe later on you have to help them out as well because they're living sort of the same thing. For women, it's especially critical because hormones and the toxicity that we live nowadays is going to be brutal on them. Um, so, PMS, all these things are even worse treated, or the perimenopause, menopause phase, where as progesterone lowers, all this inflammation, especially for neuro symptoms, gets even worse. So, again, if you have someone going through that, don't call them crazy. Don't call them, have some understanding, but do not normalize it because it is not normal. It's just not. It's the same as saying that living in pain is normal. It's not. Or it's because of age and over 40 we're meant to be fucked all the time. It's just not the right way. It's not the way it is. Same as we are not meant to be taking ibuprofen or something like that daily to function, right? So changing the lifestyle, detoxing, finding out what's wrong with the person, healing the nervous system, and basically changing the way we live because that's what's bringing us to this place. And for many, 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 many people having to go through hell, which not understanding. So again, it's good to have empathy, but it's not good to normalize such things as being normal or the new normal. To put an example to all this, when you go for a blood test, the standards, like for instance, vitamin D levels, keep being lower and lower because they take the whole population, let's say, and they make the new normal happen. But what happens is like most people are deficient, right? So the new normal every time is lower and lower and lower until eventually, we are not functioning anymore. So yeah, let's not forget what normality is. Let's not forget how feeling good actually feels, which, in this kind of chronic illnesses, we forget very easily. We actually lose the plot as well on what it is to be tired. Because when someone that is living this says that they are tired, they mean it. It's not the kind of tired that you think. It's a kind of tired that actually feels like you haven't slept for like a week and you've been hit by a lorry and, it's a mess, it's nothing to do like the worst that you ever felt with the flu. That would be a good day for us, in this healing phase. So, be compassionate, have empathy with people living this, but do not ever normalize these kind of words that pretend that we have to live with it. And so let's normalize the fact that our cognition is fucked, our brains are fucked. That's not true. And we can reverse it and we can heal and we can go back to normal. So yeah, it's a very tricky thing to talk about because one thing again is understanding other people and having some understanding about all these symptoms, about what happens, about having the empathy to help someone else. And the other one, which is very, 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 very different, is just, yeah, normalizing it as is something chronic that you have to live with. And that is the new normal. That is not true. And so please, hands on, work with people, get informed, and yeah, and let's go back to healthy. The human race was not meant to be like this. And once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.